What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We're here for round number 12 of Season 5 of our Jaguar racing career. And before we get into the racing proper, it is first time to get into the contract renewals, the big moment you've all been waiting for. And I am going to attempt to re-sign Jack Doohan to my team for the remainder of the season, but we're going to go with the medium risk option. I don't think he's done enough to earn a wage increase, and so he's staying where he is, but he was more than happy with that. And so the end of the will he won't he saga on whether Jack Doohan's going to stay with the team or not, he has ended up staying, and he's going to be here for the next 12 races, and I'm hoping that he will be able to deliver a stronger batch of races compared to the season so far. He's had some highlights, he's had some good moments, but he currently sits 8th in the championship on half the points that I've got. Meanwhile, we're 14 points behind Lando Norris, and I was just doing this to double check. There have been no mid-season driver swaps. Sometimes there have been in the past. Last season, of course, famously, Théo Pourchaire was dropped by Mercedes after just 11 races. And still, he is going to spend at least a year and a half on the sidelines. But you would imagine that Carlos Sainz retiring at the end of this season is going to trigger some sort of silly season, which should see Théo Pourchaire finding his way back onto the grid. But who knows? Maybe it'll be somebody else. Maybe it'll be Felipe Drugovich, or maybe it'll be somebody else entirely. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We are coming off the back of a win in Silverstone, which was a very strong result for myself, one I was very, very happy with. First time I've ever won around Silverstone in any of these F1 career modes across F1 22 and 23. So, yep, I was pretty pleased with that, and we're going to see if we can continue that run of form, being only 14 points down on Lando Norris now, to hopefully try and take the lead of the championship here in France today. It's going to be tricky because this is not my strongest circuit. I'm decent around here. It's not one of my worst, but given how strong Lando Norris has proven himself to be time and time again, I do not think this is going to be an easy one by any stretch of the imagination. We make our way into qualifying, and well, we were 13th. It wasn't awful. We had pretty reasonable pace on the mediums, I would say, but I did feel like the tyre drop-off around here was rather significant. I felt like after a little while I was really struggling for rear grip out of the corners after, you know, just sort of 2 or 3 laps. So, well, it's actually going to be a wet qualifying, at least to start off with, so hopefully qualifying should be pretty good for us. But in the race, I might struggle with the tyres and the strategy quite a bit, and we might need to think about doing a slightly more aggressive tyre strategy to sort of cope with the lack of performance that I was getting on the tyres in practice. But we will see what we can do now in qualifying, as we set a 1:38.3 as our first lap on a set of intermediate tyres, and well, it turns out to be a pretty decent time, good enough for fastest lap initially. But we find ourselves down in P10 towards the end of the lap, and have a pretty horrible run. This is the same set of tyres that I set my initial lap on. We have a pretty horrible run out of the final corner. Improved by 6/10 nonetheless. We would have been through regardless. But that 6/10 improvement, even with that mistake that cost us almost 4/10 in the final corner, we nonetheless managed to make it P1 by 1/10 over Alex Albon. So looking pretty good at the moment. Meanwhile, Jack Doohan is out again in Q1. It's just not good enough, Jack. You know, we re-sign you and this is how you repay us. I can't believe it. He joins Fittipaldi, Sargent, De Vries, Stroll and Joe. Actually, Fittipaldi is perhaps a little bit of a surprise to be out in Q1 here, given that he scored points in that Williams in the previous race. To see that Hulkenberg and Tsunoda are still outperforming him is a bit of a shock, to be perfectly honest. But maybe that just goes to show how tight the field is getting towards the tail end of the season here. You can clearly see that the cars are starting to bunch up, with the exception of the AlphaTauri. All the cars are quite close together in performance. We do a 1:36.2 on the intermediate compound tyres. This was a fresh set. But the track dried out towards the end of the session. You saw that DRS got enabled right at the end of my lap on intermediates there. And as a result, we found ourselves down in 16th after everyone else had done a run on the soft compound tyres. So we need a good improvement here. You know, we were into the 136s, So improving by about 4 or 5 seconds, I think, should have to be the play here to make us get into Q3, and we will see how a 1:31.2 fares as we finish Q2, and it's good enough for first position again. So we've been first and first, so it's only right that in Q3 we're going to be 9th, because that's usually how these things go in my experience. Alex Albon, his championship hopes will have taken a bit of a knock here because he has been knocked out in Q2 alongside Gasly, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Ocon and Tsunoda. I'd say Albon is maybe the surprise package there. You would have maybe anticipated it was going to be someone like Magnussen or Hauger, one of the slightly weaker drivers, maybe even Verstappen, because he's not been brilliant in that Aston Martin, but he actually gets P2 in this session. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the shootout for pole position works its way out in Q3 now, as we start out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Actually, no, I'm lying. This is a used set of soft compound tyres. This was the one that we set our fastest lap in Q2 on. My logic was if I can save some fresh sets of softs for the race, then maybe we can react to a late safety car or something like that and have a fresh set to go on to. So we do a 1:28.2 initially, and unsurprisingly, that puts us down in the bottom spot. It was not a very good lap whatsoever. However, we are improving by a pretty significant margin here in our final lap. Obviously, you know, we're on a fresh set of soft compound tyres now, but even by fresh soft compound standards, we're improving by quite a lot. 1.3 seconds we're improving by as we come on the run to the line. It's a 1:26.9. Is it pole? No, it's P2. We were very close though. At least it wasn't 9th, as I was anticipating it might be.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3: Oscar Piastri, Robinson and Max Verstappen. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
We will be starting behind Oscar Piastri for the French Grand Prix, and we will see whether we can challenge for the win as we get into the French Grand Prix.
Here we are again then at La Castellet for another round of this year's Formula One World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win here all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. 6 lefts and 9 rights give us a total of 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, and a lap covers an overall distance of 3.6 miles. Average speeds will be somewhere in the region of 142 miles per hour, and they'll be maxing out on the Mistral Straight at around 205 miles per hour. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Robinson completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Magnussen, Leclerc, Hauger, Sainz, Russell, Albon, Gasly, Liam Lawson, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, Doohan, De Vries, Stroll, Joe and Logan Sargent. Now, it's almost time for Lights Out, so let's go down to the track. With me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham, joined once again by former Formula One driver Anthony Davidson, and a lot of on-track incidents recently that could leave them low on confidence.
Certainly confidence is an important factor, and every time you're involved in an accident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers are able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
Now, I was very curious as to what the right call on strategy was here today, and in the end I decided I was going to pit on lap 10 and try and take a set of mediums long for 17 laps after the pit stop. This might not seem to be the strongest strategy perhaps, but something about this just felt like it was the right call. I felt like if I went any longer on the softs, it wouldn't work out for me, even though it seems like it's going to be slower than going on the alternate strategy. This is the one I've opted for. I want to be able to challenge these guys off the start. There's a lot of people starting here on soft compound tyres. Interestingly, Norris actually is the one starting on the mediums here. So maybe he'll get swallowed up into the pack, and maybe this race could present a chance for us to for us to take the lead of the championship here. If we can outscore Norris by 14 or 15 points, because I don't know who would take the lead on countback. But yeah, if I can outscore him by, let's say, 15 points, we will take the lead of the championship. And that is a pretty exciting prospect, because I've not been leading all championships so far. I have not been having a particularly good one. My early form particularly wasn't very good. But we will see if we can recover now as the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've had actually a quite poor getaway by our standards. Piastri blitzes away. I can't even get close to him, and Max Verstappen going for a move on me now as well. We're going to try and get back around him as we take the inside on the exit of that chicane. But what that's done is that's allowed Piastri to escape more than a second away already. Verstappen going up my inside once again. And yeah, this has been probably one of my worst race starts in this entire career mode so far, I would say. I know what you're thinking. You didn't even lose a position. And whilst that is true, I would have expected to take the lead. I think everyone was probably anticipating that. Seeing me starting on the front row, you'd think, oh yeah, he's definitely going to take the lead here. But we're actually losing a position here to Max Verstappen unless we can fight back round the outside, switch it to the inside for the exit of the corner. But is he going to fight back now in this straight? He just seems to get a bit more traction than I do, perhaps. Puts the power down a tad earlier, and actually here comes Lando Norris around the outside as well, but we are going to squeeze him out. And now we're going to try and go for a move up the inside of Verstappen if we can. But he was leaving absolutely no room for me to mount a challenge there as Norris tries to go up the inside of me. And yeah, we just look completely vulnerable right now. We do not look our usual aggressive self on lap 1 here. We are falling down the order, and at the rate we're going, we're going to run the risk of being kicked off the podium on lap 1 if we're not careful. So yeah, we're gonna have to try our best here to try and stay in the fight a little bit, and maybe try and find a bit more pace and a bit more form on the ensuing laps, because that simply was not good enough here on lap 1 for the standard that you would come to expect from me. We go off the track there, and now we've only got 2 more warnings. I say 2 more warnings. There's 1 more warning that I can afford. If I get 2 more, then I'm going to get a penalty. So yeah, this is turning into a very difficult race for us very, very quickly, actually. And Verstappen now breaking out of that DRS range as well. We're going to have Lando Norris for company on the very next lap, and he's going to try and go for a move up the inside of me here at the end of this DRS straight. I would imagine he's got the DRS now that we're on lap 3. Is he going to commit to the move? No, not on this occasion. So we hold on to P3 for now, and actually Perez has got ahead of him there. But I'm sure it will only be a matter of time before he comes back at me. And you can see here Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen now piling a bit of pressure on me as Lando Norris goes up the inside into turn 1. Magnussen thought about going for the move, and maybe he still will. Who knows? I'm trying to hold it off round the outside of Lando Norris, but Kevin Magnussen, meanwhile, is going to try and send it up the inside of me. And is he going to pull the move off? No, he has to take to going off the track, and you can't do that. So he didn't end up committing to taking the position off me. But we have lost 1 position, and that has been us kicked off the podium. Lando Norris currently in a position where he's going to outscore us at the French Grand Prix. So we need to try and turn around our situation very, very quickly. But as we make our way onto lap 6, you can see that Norris has broken away by 2 seconds. And Magnussen now is very, very close behind us. He's going to try and go for a move up the inside as we make our way into turn 1. We're going to try and hold it off around the outside of him, but we've gone a bit too deep there, and I think we're going to be wheel to wheel going through this sector. And indeed, you can see Magnussen has made the overtake up into P4. We're not going to be able to challenge that one back. My former teammate, Dennis Magnussen? I got 2 of my former teammates confused then. Kevin Magnussen doing very well. I saw Dennis Hauger pop into view on the timing tracker there, and it completely threw me off because, of course, he is also a former teammate of mine. But on this occasion, it was Magnussen making the overtake up into P4, pushing us down to P5. But here's why we go for this strategy. We boxed a little bit earlier than most of the other cars on lap 10, and we are going to try and go for a bit of an undercut if we can on the likes of Magnussen, maybe Norris as well, who knows. It really depends on how late Norris is going to stay out on those medium compound tyres. The pre-race strategy screen suggested it was going to be about lap 14 or 15 that people were going to be boxing off the mediums. So that's when I anticipated that Lando Norris is going to be coming into the pit lane. But yeah, we got a good pit stop. We're going to be coming out in 21st. The only car behind us is going to be George Russell, who I think might have had damage or something because he's going to be a long way behind us. And yeah, we are going to just try and fight back from there. We are now looking at Kevin Magnussen once again, who is running in, I suppose, net P4. But, well, he might not be running in net P4 anymore, let's just say that, because he's had a big spin through that sweeping right-hander, and he is going to plummet down the order. You can see all these cars going past him. That is, of course, Jack Doohan, not me, in the Jaguar that you saw there. His teammate has to, you know, really take a wide berth to avoid him, lose a bit of time out in the net lead of the race, and there I go, ahead of Kevin Magnussen as well. So that's definitely one position that I'm going to gain off the back of this pit stop. But can we gain another one? Lando Norris is in the pit lane now as we start lap 15, and you can see that he is quite significantly far down on me, actually. We'll see exactly what this gap is going to be to Lando Norris. It's about 4 seconds. So is there a chance that we might be able to hold on to this position and keep Lando Norris at bay as he drops a little bit further down, actually? You know, there might be an opportunity for us to take another podium here. Piastri and Verstappen ahead, and the two Ferraris who've yet to pit. So yeah, we are going to have a bit of an interesting one here. Eventually the Ferraris do pit, but eventually also Lando Norris on those hard compound tyres does catch up with us, and here he goes up the inside, much like he did on lap number 4. He's now going for the move once again, and he's going to make the move stick on this occasion. He's on fresher tyres. You know, these are 4-lap younger tyres than mine. It's also a harder compound, which I know you might think, oh well, surely the harder compound would be a bit slower than the mediums. But once I've taken some life out of these mediums, which, you know, this is going to be about the time where they're going to start feeling a little bit of a drop off in performance. This is about the time that Lando Norris will be able to, you know, start managing the hards to be a little bit better than the mediums. And you can see he's actually catching up to the two cars in front a little bit. His former teammate Oscar Piastri, as well as potential championship contender Max Verstappen, although he's quite far down in the order at the moment. So we make our way onto lap 23, and we're keeping the gap pretty consistent to Albon behind, I would say. He is catching us a little bit, but I don't think he's catching us quite quickly enough to really turn this into much of a challenge. So yeah, I think we're going to be able to hold on to this P4, minimise the amount of points we're going to lose to Norris. It's only going to be about a 3 or 4 point swing in his favour, depending on who gets fastest lap and that kind of thing. But I think we have a very good chance of holding on to this position, as long as we don't do that too many times, go deep into turn 1. And we're going to lose a bit of time to Albon as a result of that. Lap 26 now, and this is Nick De Vries, who we were doing very well, you know. We had no retirements from the race up until this point, where Nick De Vries is going to make his way off the track with a mechanical failure, and that is going to be the end of his race. The number 21 car retiring from the race to make it 21 cars left in the race. You know, call that coincidence, but it happens a lot for Nick De Vries. Probably the driver with the most retirements in this career mode, if I had to guess, but maybe we could do some kind of statistical analysis on that at some point. In any case, we kept the gap pretty consistent to Albon, behind 4.3 seconds on the final lap is where it stands at the moment. Hauger was catching us a little bit, but again, just not quite quickly enough. We set ourselves up in a very nice position to kind of just be in a bit of a no man's land in this race, I guess. And yeah, that served us pretty well. I'm going to take a look at the tyre wear, and you can see we didn't quite get to 60% on the front left, so that was nice to see. Oscar Piastri is going to lead Max Verstappen home to take his first win of the season, if I'm not mistaken, or certainly his first win in a little while. Yeah, it's a win for Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen takes P2, it'll be Lando Norris P3, and we are going to cross the line to take P4. It could have been a lot worse. Starting from P2, I would have wanted a bit more, maybe a victory, or at least, you know, a podium finish, but it could have been a lot worse. Jack Doohan gets driver of the day, not really sure why, because he finished 13th, but still, he had a pretty decent result, I guess.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
Yeah, strong performance from Oscar Piastri on this occasion. Pole and the win. Can't be too displeased with that. You know, maybe getting himself involved in the championship fight a little bit. He's kind of been bubbling under in these championship fights every single time. And maybe he's going to try and break in to the top 3 drivers. Russell having a difficult race today, of course, but yeah, maybe there is room for one more in this championship fight. Who can say? But yeah, strong result from Oscar Piastri regardless.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. It's a good result for Lando Norris, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
Oscar Piastri gets my vote today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Well, it is a 3-point swing in favour of Lando Norris on this occasion, as he increases his championship lead to 17 points over me. Meanwhile, Albon recovers from P11 to P5 in this race to score a good chunk of points for his team as well, to allow Mercedes to extend their advantage out in the front of the Constructors' Championship to 69 points. And yeah, it's going to be a hard battle in the next 11 races if we want to overturn that deficit. I think once again, Constructors' glory may just slip through our fingers a little bit here. And unless Jack Doohan really turns it on towards the end of the season, I think we may have to look elsewhere for another driver. You know, we've got pretty good acclaim. We're doing well in the performance index. We've got lots of cash on the books and we're bringing lots of cash in, week out. I think it's time. I think it's finally time next season. We are going to try and sign a headline driver. And you, the viewer, the audience, you are at liberty to tell me who you would like to see joining the team. People who I preferably would like not to join the team, maybe, are going to be people who I'm kind of involved in the championship battle with at the moment. So, someone like Norris, I'd quite like to keep him at a different team. I don't want to be having an inter-team championship battle exclusively. At least I don't mind signing someone who could potentially challenge me for the World Championship, but I want to keep my existing sort of rivalries in place. So signing someone like I think either of the Mercedes drivers is probably off the cards. Signing Piastri, I'd say, is also maybe off the cards, and then Russell is probably the other driver who I would say is kind of out of the equation. But you know, basically anyone else on the entire grid, I would consider taking a look at. Someone like Charles Leclerc, for example, maybe, or even Max Verstappen, because he's not really been involved in these championship fights lately. Those are probably the two drivers who I would say I am looking at most intently at the moment. Obviously, Carlos Sainz retiring from the sport. Sergio Perez, I don't think is too long for the sport either, if I had to guess. And yeah, we will. Well, if I can think of any other drivers that could potentially be, you know, big money moves to the team as somebody who can help me finally challenge for Constructors' glory, then that's something I would definitely be quite keen on doing. So yeah, let me know if there's anyone else other than the two drivers that I named that you'd quite like to see at the team. Then I would love to hear your opinion on that. But yeah, it was a pretty okay race from us. Next up is Hungary, which is a track that I would say typically goes pretty decently for me. I'm usually in and around the podium fight there, if not better. So hopefully we can sort of at least fight for the win in Hungary next time out, if not just outright dominate the Grand Prix. And yeah, I'm optimistic about what we can achieve. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.